It is Bones, and let's go ahead and take a look at some custom work. Now, last time I did review Lex Luthor in his power suit as Superman. Now, this was a gold label McFarlane figure, and basically it was just your power suit Lex Luthor, but with a cape. Now, this is an image from the comics where Lex Luthor tries to replace Superman and win over the people of Metropolis. Now, I did say how this was a pretty simple reuse of the parts from the other two releases, Darkseid Lex Luthor and the Power Suit Green version. But I did want to add my own spin. I wanted to basically emulate this original Mattel Lex Luthor Power Suit version, and I wanted to basically pay a little bit of homage to this one and add all the details that I could into this one. Now, I did have to change it up a little bit, but basically it's, takes inspiration from this figure. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at them. Now, just looking at them at first, you could see all the detail that I added that was not there in the original release. You could basically see this by putting a Darkseid version next to my Repaint version. You could see the differences in the shiny metallic paint that I used and all the details that I added. Now, another thing I did, I took the head and actually gave it a wash and then wiped it all down, because there was just like little grain lines and little wrinkles that you could not see at first. It just looked kind of like a plastic head, which it is, but now it gave it a little bit more life and brings out a little bit more of the ragged details in Lex Luthor's facade. So basically that was the first thing I did, was the head. I just added a little wash to it, and then I hit the armor. Now, there's a lot of cool details that I added, like on the emblem. You could see the little gold trim that goes around the shield. And another thing you could notice if you put it side by side with the original version is that original version, like the S and a little bit of the details that they had, was kind of like a white, but it was like a off green. It had a real weird bluish tinge to it. And I just went back and hit it with a white metallic pearl to give it that radiance, right? So it looks a lot better to me, but you could really see the difference in between the two versions. Added some glossy red paint to the trim of the shield and also throughout the body. Then I went ahead and added tons of silver detail where all the little buttons and little bolts are. Even in the back, I went ahead and added all those little bolts. And then I did add a ton of matte flat black to where all these little different kind of like suit version, like the separation between the armor and the suit, the lower suit part, you could really see it because it has kind of that horizontal line pattern to it. But I did do it throughout the arms and then into the trunks and then down through the legs. You could see any part that had that pattern, I just painted it black. Now, I did want to seal it to reduce paint rub, and as always, I heated up the parts before I added the paint. But once you seal it, it still gives off a little bit of a gloss. Like, I'm more of a matte person, but it didn't take away from it, because since he is like an armor, the little bit of gloss still works with the figure. So even though I loved the way it looked in the matte paint, I knew that if I were to move it around and touch it, it would really like rub the paint. So I went ahead and sealed it. But that means that you do retain mobility in the arms, in the thighs, and even at the knees. And you get very little, if any, paint rub. You might get a little speck that comes off, but basically, even in the back, if you see I just moved the knees, but the paint on the back of the leg still is the same. And then I did the trunks in black. When I was all done with it, I gave it a final, with a feather brush, I gave it a final dusting of like silver, which was to represent like battle damage. So I really started at the boots just hitting it wherever I saw that the armor had little scuffs. I just went across it with that feather brush, and you could see all the detail in there going up through the whole body. Even the arms, the gauntlets, the shoulder pads, and I even gave a swipe right across the shield because all these parts had like little damage in it, like little scrapes in the armor. And I thought, if he's going to be battling, he'd have a lot of it on his arms, at the feet, at the thighs where he's like getting into battle. So all in all, it came out really nice. There was no need to touch up the cape at all. I like the cape the way it is. I think the hardest part that for me was these little L shapes that are underneath like the S shield. It was just hard to get them smooth and like cut out. I kept getting overpaint, and I would have to go back with a little bit of like metallic blue and just fill it in. But finally it's passable where I was fine with it. And actually altogether, if you look at them, these are really beautiful looking custom. Now on the back of his neck, I also got this red piece, and that is, in part of what was on the Mattel version. But this one was hard because no paint would stick to this for some reason. So I had to use a red enamel, and then I let it dry, and then I sealed it so that you could touch it and it doesn't keep that tacky texture. But all in all, I'm really happy with the results. This just goes to show you, if you want to add some paint, even maybe some accessories like a stick of kryptonite, you could take these McFarlane figures to a whole nother level. Now throughout my channel, you'll see I've done repaints of tons of figures that I'm really happy with, modifications, custom holsters. Look through the channel and you'll see all kinds of videos where I do different versions of McFarlane figures, basically trying to use all McFarlane parts to customize these figures into awesome versions. Anyways, you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.